Hello, Christy Giannoni back in week 4 for MPA580 legal and ethical issues with something near and dear to my human resources professional heart, which is an ethical dilemma that we may come across as public administrators. So not only have I personally faced these, but as a human resources professional, we coach other administrative professionals on what to do in these situations. So in clarifying the facts of the situation in the interest of the parties, the situation is an illegal hire. So a city council member has sent an email to a human resources professional, that is the recruiter, directing them to fill a vacant position without a competitive recruitment process. So this is going to be violating a couple different civil service laws for those of us who know about the Pendleton Act and the merit system for civil service employees. And the stakeholders are going to be, anyone interested in filling this position. This could be internal candidates who are looking for promotion, external candidates who have a right and obligation to fairly apply for these positions in some kind of competitive service, and then obviously just the morale for any future positions should this illegal hire take place. So, in determining the analysis one for the duty, the HR Code of Ethics talks about fairness and justice as well as conflict of interest. So, as a human resources professional, hiring matters directly would impact my duty as a government entity. We must follow these civil service rules that call for a competitive hiring process. So, being asked as a person of power, that political administrative dichotomy that we talk about, a city council member definitely holds a certain kind of power and authority within the government agencies, say the city of Glendora that I'm working for. So them approaching maybe a lower level human resources technician, this would be something that would be a very hard decision and hard conversation to have, especially if they directly ask them to do this. But it would directly impact and conflict with our job as human resources professional. And human resources professionals are really there to mitigate risk for the city, and that would be an illegal hire. If somebody else found out about this, we could have a grievance, we could have a civil service suit on our hands. So there's a lot of issues with this as it relates to the duty of a human resources professional. And in looking at this from an ethical approach, there's a couple different thought processes that go on when we look at this. So Chapter 7 describes 4 psychological components that affect ethical decision-making and behavior, including moral sensitivity or awareness that an ethical dilemma exists. So I think that's step 1, realizing that, hey, this is violating our rules, and how do I feel about that? And in asking what a person of character or would do, I think virtue theory really ties in. But the two that stuck out that I thought could apply is a utilitarian view from John Stuart Mill. And the theory is a form of consequentialism. So the right action is understood entirely in terms of consequences produced. And it talks about that one's good counts for no more than anyone else's good. So just because this would help, so say the city council member is trying to get a good person in the community who has been looking for a job into this position, not necessarily a friend or a family member, but it's still violating that rule. And just because it would produce a good thing for the council member and for the person who they are trying to put into this position, it would not be a good for all of those others who would miss out on this opportunity. And then looking at Immanuel Kant and Kantianism, the Kantian position is that principles are universally and invariably applicable. So we shouldn't deviate from the principles regardless of the consequences. So even if the city council member exercises whatever authority they may have on the political side, the principles from the civil service merit system must be abided. So it's this idea of desire versus what you ought to do, or these categorical imperatives that can be applied in this situation. So I think the decision as an HR professional would be to abide by the rules. You'd have to have that really uncomfortable conversation in, following your duty as a human resources professional and that code of ethics, as well as just being a public servant and following ethics in general. You would need to speak truth to power and tell that city council person, these are the rules. We have to have a competitive process, give them the information, let them know how the person can apply. And just because I have experienced this situation before, hope that you have the administrative support to back you. So, a city manager or some other kind of administrative support that would also help you. If you don't have that, then it becomes a bigger situation. Hopefully, nobody ever has to look into that, because these decisions are based on, cross pressures from city council members, from a mayor, but the risk factors as well. And it's our job as human resources professionals to mitigate risk in the hiring process and the situation. All right, thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I look forward to hearing everybody else's as well.